All right. Welcome, everyone, to Beyond WSF, World's Strongest Firefighter, the new podcast where we talk about firefighters and everything beyond it. Today, we have our first guest, Noah Justin. Welcome, Noah.
Hi guys. Thank you
So,
for having
first
me.
off, man, thank you for joining us. Obviously, this was kind of a group selection here of kind of a podcast and how we can kind of advance our event of World's Strongest Firefighter and kind of grow it into a little bit more and reaching out to the athletes and people involved and everything else. So we thought you'd be a first person to have on our guest list. So thank you.
Yeah, man. I'm happy to be here. This is obviously such a big part of my life, and both of you guys, I've known you for a couple years now, and you guys have both helped me so much behind the scenes growing the community aspect. I think that's always been the most important thing for me, and I'm sure we can get more into the weeds of what I mean by that. But I think you have the competition itself, but I think the important thing is that you create a network, and the alumni network is so awesome because people can if you're visiting, like Jules, you went to Ireland and you visited some friends over there. Like we have a buddy that we can now visit in Taiwan if we wanted to. Like it's really cool just seeing how the friend circle and just like the connections between all the athletes is grown, and it's become such a community versus just a contest.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So tell us a little bit about yourself, man. Like, what's your story?
Well, I'll give the short version because I'm sure you can say a whole bunch of stuff. But I'm Noah. I'm 28 years old. I am from Sacramento, California. It's a capital city. It's a little bit different than like LA, San Diego. Like it's a little smaller town, but still a city. So I don't want to pretend like I'm from like the boonies or anything. I grew up an athlete. I played rugby for 12 years through college, from when I was 10 years old through the end of college. So that was basically, I did a lot of sports, but rugby was my main thing. And through that, I, was taught how to lift and, how to lift for sport, which is a little bit different than the lifting that we do now. But after college, when you retire from a sport, and I'm sure you guys can kind of relate to this in a way, but you kind of have this void in your soul. You don't have that competitive edges anymore. Giving yourself that fuel. And so I found strongman through work, and we can get into work in a second. But you guys actually inspired me to start strongman. I've been doing this contest for about, I think it's coming up on 6 years. I think 5 years we've had five contests. I could be totally wrong. I should know that.
Sounds right.
Yeah.
I
So
believe there's been five contests,
yeah,
two in
five
Southern
contests.
California and then three in Ohio.
Yep. Perfect. So I was right. And yeah, so I was basically like, I think 2 years ago or last year, I was like, I should probably try the sport for myself so I can maybe relate a little bit more to the athletes and understand a little bit more of, how everything works. And so I'm obsessed, and I've been obsessed for the last year. And, that's all I've been doing for the past year. But other than working on your guys' contest, I'm working on my own contest now. So that's pretty cool. So yeah, I would consider myself an athlete throughout my life, and I think that it's awesome to still be involved in athletics, even in my late 20s, through work. It's pretty cool.
I mean, you did rugby, so it's
Yeah,
close to strongman.
yeah. Rugby
Rugby
was
at the
pretty fun.
University of Oregon too. Let's
Yeah,
you did play Division I rugby. Yeah, there it is. Go
yeah.
Ducks.
So I'm a duck. I'm a duck. Yeah. So, um, I'll always have love for the sport of rugby. My body just does not have that same love for rugby, so I can't hop back in there and play again. But it was a blast, and I think it really taught me, toughness and everything that I needed to kind of get through all the other aspects of life, like, especially work and dealing with personalities. And it's those are my best friends to this day. So I think like that's also where I feel that community of World's Strongest Firefighter resonates with me, because I felt like I had that same community through rugby. And so I just really wanted everyone to experience that same kind of community style that I did. So that's why I love that we've grown so much.
It's definitely relatable, though. There's a lot of strongman athletes, at least here in Florida, that have played rugby or have played rugby. And I think doesn't our Irish firefighter, doesn't he play rugby?
Yes,
I don't
he
know
is a
how.
rugby player.
Um,
Yeah,
Cahal and
I
the
think
boys.
it's basically just you got to be a little bit psycho to do either. So I think this sounds funny, but like I've always said, like I love pain. I I don't love like pain. Like so I would love to get punched in the face. That's awesome. But like, um, we used to always say like if you don't feel like you got hit by a car after a rugby game, like you didn't play hard enough, and you're sitting there on Sunday like unable to move, strawberries all over your body. You take the shower, you burn because of the turf burns all over you, and like you're like, damn, I really did all that I could yesterday, and that's why I feel like this. So it was like this glorious feeling of just sitting there not being able to move at all. And like it's like me and my two roommates, we both played too. So we'd all just be on the couch, like, hanging out, not moving all day. But that day was your reward for what you did the day before. And usually you'd have a party after the game. So there's a little bit of the dustiness that comes from the night before also. But I think strongman is the same. Like if I have a training session where I don't feel like I'm very sore or I don't feel exhausted, where I hop in bed and I'm like, oh my God, like that was such a hard workout. I'm not happy with myself and I need to work harder. So,
I think
that's
it's
always
just that athlete mentality because I think a lot of us who do World Strongest Firefighter were collegiate athletes or high school athletes and kind of have that same mentality of just the pain and suffering. And that's kind of how people thrive and are in the gym and they're pushing themselves to be better. I
yeah,
think a lot of times when we see athletes who don't push themselves, it shows. And it's like you got to be in there and you got to have that pain and suffering to grow, and not just physically but mentally as well.
100%, man.
You have to have experience of doing it for a while too, like consistency. I don't
Mhm.
know sports that you hop in for a day and then boom.
No, I mean, strongman is interesting because you hop in for one day and you're like, you can do enough to where you're like, if I really tried this, I could be something. And I find that that's what sucked me in. It's like you see all these guys that are like I have a buddy Mac who's like another redhead. He's like the same exact size as me, but he's been training for like 3 years longer than I have. I actually competed before he did, so we kind of inspire each other in the gym to keep pushing. Like his press is like up here, and my deadlift is compared to his is up here, but like we both love pushing each other. And I think like seeing him when I first started working out with him and what he was able to do at my size. And I'm bigger now than I was when I started, but I think that gave me motivation. It's not just these big behemoth guys. Like we have guys that are not that I'm not big,
Mhm.
but like, you know what I'm saying? Like it's not just the giant heavyweight guys. Like there's weight class athletes and those guys are just as important. And I think that like knowing that strongman can be for any size athlete. We have a girl in our gym who is 110 pounds soaking wet, and she's like 5 foot, and she just loaded a 160-pound stone the other week. So just seeing those athletes and their ability to push themselves past the limit, like that's really what inspired me to continue because I knew what I could be if I kept working hard. And now, I've my numbers are exponentially better. I still have so much more work to do, but it's really rewarding to see your numbers go up, in the gym. It's quantifiable, and I think that's why strongman is awesome.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I think everyone's big question is how did you become Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger's personal assistant? How did that come about?
Yeah, man. So that's a pretty weird story. So I was working in Washington, D.C. for a PR company, and it was like very corporate, and I didn't really enjoy it that much. Respect to them, it's a great company, but I just didn't feel like it really belonged, and I don't know if that was because you know, DC, because the culture of DC is just so much different. Um,
Sure.
and I think once I realized I didn't want to be there anymore, I read an article about Arnold, um, and then it was on Politico, and it was basically just about like how he lives his life now. And I was like, wow, this guy's so cool. And when I was living in Sacramento, I was an intern in the Capitol a couple times. So I met a lot of random people through that. And then I was like, I got to know somebody that knows somebody. And I got a hold of my current boss, Daniel. And he basically, we started chatting and we liked each other. And he was like, we're going on this trip to Paris. You want to come and see if you can do it? And I was like, yeah. so that was my interviews. They basically sent me to Paris, and I did, I worked at a climate summit. It's kind of hard to explain like exactly what the job was, but I messed with the team well. We had a good time, and then they're like, "All right, man, move to LA." And so, as soon as I got back to DC, I started working on that, and a couple months later, I was living in LA, and I've been here since 2018. So
Wow,
yeah, it was super random, just kind of on a whim, like right place, right time, and yeah, it was crazy. So I love it, and that's where I am now.
that's awesome.
Wow.
That's cool.
I
That's cool. That
don't know if
takes you
that
from
makes
literally
sense. That sounds kind of
one side of
weird,
the country to the other, and then now all of a sudden you're one of the most influential, famous people in the world, and you're just hanging by his coattails every day. I mean, that's pretty.
but yeah, I mean, it's really cool, and I always say like Arnold is an awesome guy, and that's how the world's strongest firefighter even started in the first place is from him, his love for the fire service, and just his charitable nature in general. I think like in this phase of his life, he's very focused on the giving back part of his rules for success. That's the last rule of success is give something back. And so that's just what this part of his life has been all about, is just making sure that others are taken care of. And I think that's super admirable, and I enjoy being a part of that mission that he has, and not to mention all of the other fun shit that stuff that we get to do. Sorry, I'm sure we can swear,
The
but
podcast, man. We can do whatever you want. We're good.
but yeah, so there's a lot of fun stuff that is like not charitable too, like like he's doing TV shows, movies, like pro strongman stuff. Um, but yeah, I just enjoy it all. It's a really cool job, and there's so much variety. So I'm just very blessed to be a part of the organization.
Sure.
I like it.
Did Arnold reach out to you about starting World's Strongest Firefighter, or was that how did that come about? And then how did you spearhead that to what it is now?
Yeah, so I'm trying to remember the exact way it came about. Basically, Arnold visited. I don't know if you guys remember the campfire. I'm sure you do.
Mhm.
In Paradise, I believe it was in 2019, 2018. I can't remember.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
it was just like a devastating fire in Northern California, and Arnold went to serve breakfast on the line for all of the firefighters that were working up there, all the Cal Fire guys, some of the prisoners that were working up there. And he was just really enamored with how strong those guys were, and like how they were out there camping, fighting wildfires for weeks at a time, and really just didn't get the shine and appreciation that they should be getting. Not that they don't get any, because I think California is a special place in the fact that the fire service is held in such high regard because we experience such devastating fires every year. But in a worldwide and nationwide, like he wanted to put the spotlight on firefighters and show how strong they are. And we were already involved in pro strongman at the time, and we were working on hosting a pro contest on the Santa Monica Pier. And that was my first project. Is he's like, I want to put together a really cool strongman show. Do you think you could do that? I'd never done that in my life, but I understand, I guess, sports and the arena and making things cool for people. And that first year was a trial run. Like I probably didn't do as well as I did the second time, but I think I learned a lot and blah blah blah. But when he came to me after being at the campfire, he was like, "We should include a World's Strongest Firefighter contest at our pro contest." And so between events, we would have the guys come out, and it was essentially like a glorified CrossFit show. Like it was like 225 dead for reps, like things like that.
Right.
And
It's definitely grown since that year one. That's for
yeah,
sure.
yeah, and like those guys are still involved, which is really cool. And that speaks to the community of it as well. But yeah, having that first year and just seeing the success and how much money we were able to raise for them, it was like, let's do this every year. And COVID derailed the Santa Monica show. Not to mention it was just a very expensive show to put on. But either way, we got to Columbus, because we've had the show in Columbus for years and years and years, and we have the infrastructure. So we asked Brian Powers, who is the director of the Arnold Sports Festival, if we could include the firefighter show in Columbus, and he said yes. And because of that, he gave us the tools we needed to put on an awesome show in Columbus. So we expanded also from 2022, when Tyler first competed, we did a sweepstakes selection. So basically, they would send in a video, basically saying, "Hey, my name is so and so. This is why I believe I should be a part of this." And I would go through these personally, and pick videos that I felt like they stood out to me. And like you can imagine what Harry Walker's video was during that year, but like
It
it's
feels like I
like
threw an axe into a tree or something like that.
yeah,
Shout
it
out to
was
Harry Walker, just being the man he is, man. Just
I
yeah.
think
So
Harry Walker.
one
hopefully,
video, bro, and I was like, I'm gonna do a video, but it's not gonna be anything like that.
yeah, I know. And I'm sure you guys will talk to Harry, and he's one of the most interesting guys that we know. But it was fun doing it that way, and then I realized that the demand to be a part of it was so much higher than just, a couple guys, and I couldn't keep saying no to people that I felt like it did deserve to be in there, because I feel like even that first year there were so many people that I could have selected that I didn't. And now they're a part of it in the way that we do it now, which is essentially having a prelim competition on that day one, moving into the finals on that second day. So you essentially um, are doing your selection process on site, and that just makes it easier on me because I don't have to, sift through those videos or feel like I'm disappointing anyone. So I feel like that, we're still crafting the perfect show. Like, we're gonna figure out more changes. We added some more weight classes this past year. But I think like what we've done to now is like something I really be proud of. And I think like I love the fact that more and more people are getting involved. And we had 14 women compared to Jules's first year, we only had 4. Uh, so that was a really big success point for us this year, is knowing that we had 14 women competing versus 4 last year. And if you saw the camaraderie. Not that there's not camaraderie in the guys, but because the women were only 14 of 150 or something like that, like the group that they have and the way that they cheered each other on, and like the support, and they still talk on social and stuff, and like comment on the posts. Like it's just, it was really cool to see that. Like, and then Jules started the World's Strongest Firefighter Women page, which is essentially the alumni page, but for the women. And that's been awesome to see too, and just seeing like, all the support that they come together. And like, I remember when I was on site, Marcus's wife, Stephanie, was doing yoke, and she was on her yoke run, and she was pick it up and drop it, and she was gonna make it, but every woman came out and got around Steph and was just cheering her on to finish that yoke, and she actually ended up finishing the yoke, if I remember correctly.
I
But
think
it was
so.
a really cool thing to
Yep.
see, just everyone coming out and cheering, and that's something strongman is very unique in that way. I feel like when I first came into competition, I very much had that rugby mindset of like, you go out there and you kill, kill, kill,
Mhm.
and you turn off your emotions and you just do your thing, and you don't care about the people in front of you because it's just you and the weights. But then you realize that there's so much more. I have a team, right? I have like 6 guys, 7 guys on my team. So I've been out there as a coach. I've been supporting them, and I didn't realize how big of a thing that was and how important that is to not only support your teammates, but also just support people that you compete with. Like, I've met so many friends that live in different parts of the state that I've met at contests, like, and in World's Strongest Firefighter, all the athletes that I've met, from all over the world. So I love that about strongman, and I think that's the firefighter and strongman love. Like, it comes into one, and it makes something really special.
Yeah. And we kind of talk about, when I talk about with guys at the fire department about this competition, like the brotherhood already in the fire service is huge, right? That's one of the big things that we talk about, the sisterhood and the brotherhood of being a fellow firefighter. And then you take that small group of people and then you put them into the sport of strongman, which is also a tight knit group. That this sport, as world's strongest firefighter, is getting so personable because you are interacting with these people, not just on one day of the year. You befriend these people and you talk to them and you develop these friendships and lifelong friendships with these guys. And it's so awesome to see because, like when we competed in 2022, the first year at the Arnold, there was 15 of us. And
Yeah.
we still talk almost weekly, if not sometimes daily, just talking with each other. And now we've gone from 15 2 years ago to almost 150. Like you said, we have friends in Taiwan and Czech Republic and Ireland and Canada, and you're just meeting all these people, and the brotherhood is so amazing. We got people doing comps now together
Yeah.
outside of the World's Strongest Firefighter. They're all meeting up and doing whatever comp and whatever states they're from. Next week I compete at the Kansas Log Lift Championships in Ellsworth, and Frank, our 231 finalist, is coming in from Colorado. So we're going to be competing again just in a week. So, without that, I never would have known who this guy was, or he probably never would be coming to this competition. So it's really cool to see how we've developed and how we're growing. Just as
Not it's Chris's competition.
Yep.
Yeah,
Another.
I was gonna say.
Yeah. Chris is an alumni as well. He's competed the last 2 years. He's a promoter and runs shows out here in Kansas. So, it's cool. It's cool to see, and it's such an amazing feeling for sure.
And Jules, you and Chris have become really good friends over those couple years too. I've seen you guys, your camaraderie, and just how much fun everybody has together. And you and Chris are a funny pair. So I just wanted to mention that. I mean, being out with you guys after it's all done, it's always a good time. So I just
There's nothing.
Yeah,
sure.
It's awesome, and especially for me when I'm done working and I can just take a second. It's always a crazy weekend, but yeah, I really do think that's awesome, and hopefully, like, I can even get you guys out to California, compete with me once. So
yeah, I saw you signed up for Coachella, strongest
Yeah.
man women. So
Yeah,
got to run it back.
He's got to go back.
First open show, I think. So I have a plan to do LA's Strongest Man in August, but I don't have any info on that. But that'll be my last novice show, and then I move to open in November. Yeah, so
awesome, man. That's awesome.
Got some weight to gain.
As like a side note, I think Noah is like a perfect representation of. I get like we both probably get this question asked a lot of when you should move from novice to open in strongman, because there's no like, oh, you can only do it so many times, or you can only do it to this point. But I think he's like the perfect representation of going from novice to open,
Yeah. So I did I'll have done 3 novice contests and before my open. And I feel like because it does take a while to get your weights up, like get your PRs up, and then also get your body weights up. I think that like this allows me to understand what competition is like while still building my numbers, because I think like I'm nowhere close to where I want to be. But I still want to compete and I still want to be a part of that. So I think novice has really allowed me to. I know some people like talk a little shit about novice, but fuck, I
it
just
takes.
it takes time. It really does. And like I was 185 when I started strongman. I'm about 220 now. So
Nice.
I put on so much weight. But I'm still going. Like I want to put on 10 more before the show because I'm doing Tyler's weight class, 231 and under.
Oh man, those days are behind me now, man. I just stick with the
Sorry, you were open this year. 2 years ago.
So yeah, I was sitting at like 240 for a while. So I was like, oh, 9 pounds, like that's nothing to cut.
Yeah.
And now I'm just like, no, I'm just gonna stick with the heavies and just run with it. And it's paying itself off because like I don't deplete myself with a water cut or something like that. And I might as well train heavier weights and compete at the heavier than try to cut down. It's like I'm not gaining much out of that. So let's just stick with the heavies and go from there. So and that's the way it's been working for me. But kind of going with that, I had never done strongman until you literally selected me to compete for World's Strongest Firefighter. Like came from a powerlifting background, took a couple of years off with a back injury, and then hooked into strongman. And like I'm just now starting to podium the events that I'm going to because it takes time. And like I'm super strong, but to learn strongman and the 30-40 different events that you can have, it takes time and it takes practice and it takes all the different meets and the comps and shows to kind of find your groove and what works and what the training cycle should look like, your recovery. I mean, it is a very strategic sport if you want it to be.
Yes, you do. You do need to take care of yourself in the off times. It's like, how often you hop in the sauna, you want to do a cold plunge, you want to do your massage gunning, stretching, mobility, all of those things. I always say, like, because I have a fake hip, I tore my meniscus. Like I never really cared so much about stretching and mobility when I was younger playing rugby, and that does take a toll, obviously. And now I have a spot hip and no cartilage in my right knee, and yet I'm still able to do this somehow. And some people might think that's stupid. My PT says it's great. She said, "You have a fake hip. It's not going to break. Just
right.
enjoy that."
Got that old
So
titanium dip going on.
yeah, and I think like talking about all the different events and like Jules, like you compete in Highland Games too, which is like another kind of facet of strongman. I wouldn't say it's necessarily strongman specific, but same, you know, it's got some crossover events, and so like I've even become interested in Highland Games through you. You know, so watching you compete, that's pretty cool. But I just remember like, you know, I had my first contest, I couldn't get my circus dumbbell that I was getting every day in training, and it was the nerves, everything happening at once, like, and I couldn't do it. And so I basically was like dedicating after that show, I'm only going to do circus dumbbell until I'm, you know, I'm really good at circus. And then I get my next contest events, it's like no circus. I'm like, okay. So I have to pivot from doing circus. Now I'm doing Viking pressing contest. Okay, so now I train on a Viking press implement, which is just weird. You guys have probably both seen the makeshift, you know, putting a barbell on a safety bar and just
Yep.
pushing up. Um, and so that was hard. And then it's like now I got my contest in November is going to be an axle trump weight. And so it's like, oh, I don't even train axle. So now I'm starting to train axle. And it's like, I forgot that I told myself I wanted to be the best at circus dumbbell. So that's also why it's so much fun, because like you do get to practice different implements, and like for example, like last year at Coachella Strongest, we did a stone series, you know, where we did 5 stones and weight and height. So the height goes down as the weight goes up. And this year, allegedly, they're gonna do heavy stone, 1 stone, 5 different heights, which
All
that
right.
sounds
That's the thing
absolutely,
about that's the thing about strongman, man. Like every event, every show is just different, and they can
yeah.
modify it however they want. So yeah, you might be good at stones, but are you good at putting them at a 52 or a 58-inch platform?
Yeah.
Better figure it out, because that's what's going to happen. So
Yeah, so I have to learn, you know, because one of the heights is like 70 inches. I'm 6'3", so like lucky for me, I'm already up there kind of.
yeah,
But still, I might have to learn to shoulder a 260 stone, and I just got a 225 stone to my shoulder, which is great, but like way more work to do. So that it just gives me more motivation in the gym having a show to train for,
yeah.
and watching all my friends do all this stuff, because it's like I just want to catch up. I won't.
And shout
I'll
out to
try.
shout out to Wreck-It Jim Martins Lisi's, one of our favorite pro strongmen. That you able to work with him, and that's got to be a pretty cool thing to work with him on a weekly basis at least, and pick a pro strongman's brain of how to be better at these events. Like that's a big advantage that a lot of people can't have.
Yeah, and that so I'm really lucky that I get to train with the group that I do, and like um you know, I still wouldn't consider myself like a big time strongman or anything, but and I'm an enthusiast, you know, so having Martine's advice and his friendship too, because we've been friends longer than I've even been doing strongman, just through working in the Arnold Strongman Classic, and he won both of my shows in Santa Monica. Um, you know, I always tell him, I remember talking to someone before the show because I got him for a media interview, and I'm like, is this guy going to do anything? He's like, no, not a chance. And Martins ended up winning twice in a row, went on to win Worlds, went on to win Rogue, went on to win Arnold in 22. So
Yeah,
he's like, he's won every major show. And like, you know, if you can see like kind of how like he's taking care of his body and how much he focuses on mobility and how much he focuses on recovery. Um, and his thing is all, not that we don't lift heavy, but I think like Martine's is always like you can make light weights heavy and you can get a lot of those same benefits and less strain on your body. So it's like we do lift heavy, but we don't lift heavy always. So it's like you just do a lot of eccentrics, you do a lot of isometrics, like, you know, just like things that can build your muscle without harming you so much. So that's been really cool to be a part of that. And just like you're saying, the techniques are invaluable. You don't have someone that teaches you how to do a stone. Like you're just going to pick up the stone how you think,
Right.
or you watch a YouTube video. There's no, you know, I have a cadence. It's like cut the stone in half. This is put your feet here, go up to lap 10 and 2, stretch reflex, go up. So it's like all of those things like I learned from him. And I know you can find that on YouTube, and like you guys have coaches that can teach you that, but not everyone does. And I'll go to a contest and I see some people like not even able to break ground on a stone that they're twice the size of. And it's just because they don't know how to do it. And it's all technique, and things like log press or circus dumbbell like we're talking about. Like you can press, like you can be strong, but like can you get that circus dumbbell to a position on your shoulder that it doesn't feel like it's going to roll off, or it's not feeling like it's digging into your face. Like
And just
that's
Yeah.
the part.
the
Yeah.
opportunity to have some of those implements as well, because you see some guys training with like a dumbbell, like a 110-pound dumbbell. That is not the same as a circus dumbbell.
No.
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah.
and that's a big thing with strongman too, is you have all these wild implements or all these wild events, and it's like sometimes people just don't have the access to even modify something like that to train a strongman event. So, having that gym that's going to give you success or the tools for success is huge. Having those coaches who've been around the game for 4 or 5 up to 10 years, whatever it may be, like those are all significant things in the world of strongman. And, that's kind of how you start getting better is having that.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm going to say with strength sports in general. So if you look at strongman, if you look at Highland Games, if you look at any like functional, like CrossFit even, or what we do in firefighting, a lot of it is like gaining that strength, but also experience to know that you can use lighter weights to get your strength up and then apply that in a certain way to be able
Yeah.
to lift something that most people wouldn't think that you would just be able to lift or do.
Right. And it's getting your body used to the movements. It's like you want to move that same, or at least you can tell your body you want to move the same way that you do with a 135-pound stone that you do with a 260 stone. Obviously, it's not going to move the same, but if your body is doing the same cadences, it's going to pay off for you, because you're not like, oh, I'm going to pick it up differently because it feels heavier. It's like, no, do it the exact same way.
Right.
And
Yeah.
even when you're working with that 135, do it slow so you can feel that extra strain. But like now you don't have to go slow-mo when you go the heavyweight. So it's like a bat donut almost, where you put a donut on your bat to make it heavier. So when you get to the batter's box, you can swing faster.
Right.
Mhm.
Like that's kind of how I look at it, is like you want to make it harder for yourself in training. And then when you get to the show, it's like, oh, I'm just running a
Just
yoke.
just,
Like it's not
just
a big
doing
deal.
it.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
kind of going back to like the show, like the World's Strongest Firefighter, like what would you say like some of the biggest challenges you faced with this event?
Yeah, you guys are very privy to things that have happened just over the years with personalities and a lot of, you have a lot of people, and that's a difference, is like when we picked those 15, like I could get a good gauge of everyone's personality, and I think that was part of it, is like I wanted a bunch of good dudes. And every guy from that selection, is my friend to this day. And I think as I love so many of our athletes now, like I have hundreds of friends now.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but you do have people that are in it for themselves, and they're not necessarily in it for the community or the reasons that we all are, which is also to raise money. So, I get a lot of quote unquote suggestions from people on how to run it. And when you're when you're just doing your best and trying to put together the best thing you can while also making money for charity and while also making sure everyone's included, you have things to worry about like time on stage. You have things to worry about like how much the Arnold Sports can give you broadcast wise. So there's a lot of like things behind the scenes that people don't necessarily understand, and they think it's like the same as running a show in a Sam's Club parking lot. Like it's really not. So there's a lot of things that like I have to adhere to
Right.
that people want me to, like someone will be like, well, what if we did 3 contests on the stage, and we had 3 different divisions, and we gave an axe to all those people, and we didn't do the Wilkes system or whatever. And I think like the reason that we do the Wilkes system is for a couple of reasons. One is that we can't be on stage longer than we're on stage. Like that's just how
Yeah.
it works at a big expo. So that's one reason. And two, like there are so many weight classes, and we're gonna have weight classes that like we just want to measure everyone on that same level. And like with Jules, when you won the women's division on the prelims day one, last year, or I guess 2 years ago now, like you won the women's division. So it's like those medals that you get, like Nathan won the open prelims, like he was the
Mhm.
champion of that division. The finals is a completely different thing where you're putting together the winners of these divisions into the Wilkes system. So I think like people believe that like I should be giving more axes out. I should be separating the competitions. And that's not to say that everyone has that idea, because a lot of people are happy with how it goes. And, you're always going to have people that have suggestions. And I think that was just overwhelming for me this particular year, because
Mhm.
the more people we have, the more ideas. And I think I was just getting overwhelmed. And I think also I have to balance being a promoter and being a friend. And that's, pretty hard for me, because I do want to be friends with everyone, and I do want to give my access out to people, but I can't give it out so much where if I start to make suggestions in like the larger WhatsApp group that we have, it's like then people start kind of jumping in, instead of like, it's not like 22 or 23, maybe even,
Yeah.
where I can just hop in and be like, "What's up, fuckers?" Like, "Hey, yeah, like, because nobody knows, or not nobody, but like not everyone knows me, and not everyone knows my personality, doesn't know my role, doesn't know the reason I'm in this group chat, and so people just think that I'm some dude that they can yell at. So I think that's been difficult, because it does make me feel shitty, like, can't lie, like it kind of makes me sad when people are like talking about something that I feel like I'm doing for them with no extra pay. And I'm not whining about that, but it's like, hey man, like I'm taking this time to run this for y'all because I want to, and because like my boss wants this to go well, but I'm not
Yeah.
getting paid more for it. So it's like I could fucking walk away and never care about this again, but that's not the person I am or want to be, because I do really care about the cause. So yeah, I think that just dealing with criticism, I've always been tough with that. It makes me sad, I can't lie. So
Well, and like
uh
that makes sense. No one likes to face criticism, there that's just kind of the reality of it. But I can only imagine like you're kind of getting the blunt end of it all because they think you're the one who's just like making every single decision. And like, no, there's a team of about 30 people that make the decision for this one event.
yeah.
And it's such a collective thing between Dion and Brian. And I mean, just everyone. It's such a collective thing that, we're trying to make this run as smooth as possible. And that's it. I mean, that's the reality. We have, an hour and a half on stage. It's all we can do. We
Yeah.
can't do all these other divisions or, we kind of call it the participation medal where people are just like they want to get that recognition. Like I get it, I understand what you're trying to do, but at the
Yeah.
same time, we're trying to find the world's strongest firefighter, and,
Yeah.
and
And I
that's it's got to
feel,
come down to it at some point.
and back to the Wilk system, I almost feel like that's a direct representation of what the fire service is in general. It's like Jules and Tyler on the same line, like the same truck, or I'm sorry, I don't know the right jargon, but like, you guys are on the same team that are coming into the house. Like it doesn't, there's no weight classes in the fire service. Like, I don't know, maybe you guys don't hire people over a certain weight, but like, everybody
That's
works.
a different conversation
Yeah,
about
but like
that.
everybody works together, everybody has fun together, and everybody fights the same fire. And I think like that's sort of where Dion and I wanted the Wilkes system to come up, because everyone needs to be measured on the same level. And whether the weights are the same or not, like everyone's strong as hell that's up there. Like
But
there's no
well,
slouches.
not everybody's going to go up to like 1,000-pound hose line and drag it over here. Like if me and Tyler are on a truck, I'm not going to be the first one to jump that way, right?
Yeah,
Everybody has their own role. So one person might be using a thermal imaging camera. One person might be good at getting into narrow access areas, i.e., like someone like me who's smaller.
yeah,
Um, so it's accurate in that way. It's not everybody has to move this huge amount of weight the same way.
yeah, exactly. And so I guess like just that's just the reason I feel like the Wilkes system works, not just for the logistics part, but just because I feel like it's a representation of the fire service. And so not that I'm like making my excuses and like talking to my critics directly, but the
Yeah,
Wilkes
no,
system
absolutely.
I feel like
Yeah,
is that's
it's
why I did.
as
Yeah.
well, not just in strongman or I mean, who else uses it? Powerlifting uses it.
Yeah.
Think of
That's
who
where we
else.
got it actually was from powerlifting. And so we took that same scale, we made our own, excuse me, made our own math, because you need to have a formula for it. So we had to actually sit down and create that formula, and like don't ask me to do anything related to math ever in my life. It just does not, like I hear a number and it's like I could look at a group of 4 people and be like, that's 10 people. Like, like I don't know. Like
It-
that's how my brain works, I guess. But so Dion is the one that helped me with that. But yeah,
Shout out to Dion, man. She's made this amazing
yeah,
for us as well.
yeah.
So
And she's a great lady, and hopefully you get the chance to talk to her as well. But she has taught me everything I really know about the amateur strongman world, and you know, how to put a contest on, and we both work together on improving the things that we both do, and she's learned things from me and I've learned things from her, because this is about both of our babies, and everyone that works, you know, John Byrne, who helps me run this, and you know, all the people on the team, like everyone's heart is in this 100%. So we all come together to make this the best we can. We meet all year, all, you know, after it's not like this is a let's hop in a couple months before and see what we can throw together. Like it's really, we take that time, and I hope that it shows from all of us, not just from me, but from Dion, from John, from Dom, our MC on stage, who is another guy that would be really fun to talk to. Like he's just he's a firefighter. I don't believe that, because he does so many random things. Like he's a stand-up comedian. He does Bitcoin stuff. Like but he's a firefighter. I've seen him in uniform before. So
Our alumni reunion in
Or like a firefighter.
Venice Beach, we saw him in uniform. Like he really is.
yeah,
So,
exactly. Yeah.
so no, like where are you wanting this to go? Like where do you want
I was
World
just,
Strongest Firefighter to go?
You let Jules ask the question just so she
Jules asked the question.
I was about to say, all right, so piggybacking off Dion and all that,
Yeah.
where do you want it to go?
Oh yeah, I mean, you know, I think that the idea is to just continue to grow this. Like I think a good marker for success in the coming years will be more international athletes. You know, having a guy from Asia was really cool. Like that was like, God damn, like it's so far away. And he has already told me he's coming back. Like he was one
Yeah.
spot off from that main stage, and it would have been so cool for him and Liam, who are both foreign athletes, to be the top two in the U90. And so that was really just cool for me to see. And I think if we can get more athletes from all over the world, if we can get some guys from Africa, if we can get South America, Australia had a big wildfire presence. You know, I'm talking to a guy from New Zealand right now who wants to come out and compete. So there's guys from all over the world that are messaging me being like, oh my God, I just found out about it. You know, I'm seeing this on the Arnold Sports page. You guys do this? And so the more we get that word out, and the more international people and athletes that we have, and the more women that we have, and like women from international women, like to say, but like
Yeah.
those are just good gauges of how we're growing, because obviously like there's going to be a bunch of hefty dudes being like, oh, I want to lift weight and I'm a firefighter. Like that's easy to find, man. Like
Oh yeah.
you
To
gotta
say,
like, yeah, no, exactly. So it's like I just want to diversify, and I want to continue to just smooth speed bumps, and you know, make those auxiliary, I call them auxiliary events, you know, like the dinners at Schmidt's, or you know, hanging out at Brothers, or like, you know, if we got like a tour of the Rogue Factory or something, you know, just like getting
that
cool
would,
stuff together, so everyone can kind of bond in those experiences outside of the competition. And then, you know, Tyler, if we ever work on another alumni reunion, like those are the things that I want to invest in, and like that's how you get people to come back. That's always how I've found, is that if you don't care about that individual athlete and his needs, and you just care about the overall picture, you're not going to be able to put together something special, because emotions are so tied in with happiness. I mean, happiness is an emotion, but I mean like, but like when you're emotionally attached to this, and I feel like all three of us have that emotional tie to this contest, you want to work harder for it, because you are part of the family. And I want everyone to feel like they're a part of the family. Oh, tearing up.
Yeah,
You know, but
you're
you know
right
what
though.
I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Like I just want people to know that what we're doing is for them, and it's like it's special, you know what I'm saying? So that's how I see this going, is continuing to grow the community, continuing to make people happy, and also crowning a world's strongest firefighter every year, because it's been so cool to see Marcus. I've seen Daniel, I've seen Ben Gallagher, their media tours that they do.
Andy.
You know, like those are just so cool for me to see. And like, you know, you have like the local Toledo station being like, we're here with the world's strongest firefighter in Toledo, Ohio. Can you believe that? And then like Marcus told me a story where an old lady was like, I can't remember what the exact situation was, but
They were,
Marcus came in. Yeah, I think did you see this story where
Yeah, they're
she
yeah.
going. Yeah, they were at the
Yeah.
hospital for like a medical call, and she recognized him or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and then like she was so hyped that the world's strongest firefighter came to visit her, and I think he came and visited her off hours or something like that.
Yep.
Uh,
Aw,
so like those are just like cool moments where it's like they're representing us so well that like I really hope the people that do win this overall contest are going to continue to be, and not just the overall winner, because everyone does media. Like, Tyler, you've done media, I'm sure. We have guys who like didn't even make the finals that were doing local media. So just everybody doing those local media shows, like I want this to come across the way that that we all feel about it. It's like this is fun. We're gonna have fun. This is not like life or death. Like, oh my God. Like I'm just
right?
yeah. So if you want to make it life or death and you want to go hard, like everyone needs to go hard. I'm not saying that at all because I want everyone to train as
No, no.
hard as
Oh,
possible.
so easy.
Yeah. Yeah, because this is a contest and I don't want to dilute that, but I do think that the the community and the emotion is more important to me than putting on the contest itself, I
Well, not
guess.
just that, but like I've tried to get people to understand this because if you go into this competition as a normal firefighter thinking that you have to go balls to the wall and
Yeah.
then you get hurt over something that isn't like being paid for, that you're paying out of
Yeah.
money for, or,
Yeah.
you know, something that's not included in your job, nobody's going to want to do it. So
No.
that's try to like, I try to get that across as well. Like you don't need, if it's going to risk that, then it's not worth doing. It's just for
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah. And
At the same time, we're also moving weight, and this isn't for
yeah.
everyone. And that's
Yeah.
something too, is
Sure,
that this isn't for every firefighter who thinks they're strong or does a, little
could be.
Ironman. Yeah,
It could. Every firefighter has a certain level of fitness.
And
could be.
I
Could,
think to Jules's point, like a good person to recognize in that aspect was Samantha McChesney. You
Yeah.
know, she doesn't really even train strongman specific. She's very fit and very strong, but she's not necessarily training specifically. But her and her husband come out for the past 2 years, and she's like the biggest cheerleader for everyone. Her husband is a gem of a guy too, and like they really just enjoy being around everyone. And I think that even though they're in there and they're not doing as well as everyone might be doing that trains for it, I think that they just love being there. And
they're there for the
that's awesome
cause.
too.
They're
And
there
like
for the
they
reason.
are, to Tyler's point, they are strong enough to not hurt
Exactly.
themselves bad. But I
Right.
think they are there for the community over trying to win something, which is really cool because like that's great. We have those kinds of people that are there that for that reason. Because if you have, all serious people and no fun, then it just becomes another contest. So I think like, and you don't have to not have fun if you're serious. Like Tyler takes that shit serious, but like he's laughing with the guys in warm-ups. Like
Mhm.
that's awesome. So yeah, I think that people should realize that this is a real show, but like if you want to come out and have fun, like you don't even need to compete. Like just maybe volunteer or something like that. Like if you want to work on our staff, like volunteer,
Volunteer.
So
There's guys in my department who know that they can't, they're not into strongman or whatever, but they're like, I want to help out. Like, so
yeah.
maybe that's something you and I or all three of us can start working on, is how we can get more volunteer help and getting more
Yeah,
people involved and spreading that word.
we'd love that, man. Any help we can get is great because we're very a very small team that is all made up of volunteers that have other jobs. So, we had a lot more volunteers this year, but like always look for more help.
Okay. Well, no, we've definitely learned a lot from you, man. Like I said, we appreciate you coming on. We have a couple more questions for you. One of the things I want to know, if our listeners don't know, Noah is in Los Angeles. So I got to know, what was the most hilarious fashion or trend that you've ever seen?
Oh man, that's so interesting because I see so. I mean,
It's such a melting pot of the world in Los Angeles. I mean, I can't imagine everything you see.
yeah, I mean, like there's like every community has their own style. I think like the people you're probably thinking of is like the Melrose Avenue, like hype beast kind of people. I've seen like my funniest one, and it doesn't sound that crazy, but it just makes me laugh every time. Like every dude in Venice looks exactly the same, and they all wear this the color of a potato sack, like that like light tan
That
color.
beige or whatever it is.
It's all linen. They all wear all beige, and they all wear like you know, Birkenstocks, and they all have this like this hat. I can't even like
Fedora.
describe the hat to you, but it's like they're all the same color. It's like that beige with a green bill, and it's got some stupid company on it. But they all look the same, and I don't know why that's so funny to me. But the beige the beige linen look is so funny, and you know they're not from LA or Venice. Like
Right.
you know, like the
Yeah.
people that dress like that are not usually from here. Like my girlfriend, she's from LA, and like she doesn't dress weird or anything like that. It's more people that are like, I'm in LA now. I have to dress like a weirdo in order to fit in with other people that aren't from here. So
Yeah.
it's like, you know, like the people you're fitting in with are also other people that are trying to fit in with people that are also not from here. Because like I live in a community of people who have been here from since like 1970. Like I live on a residential street. Like
Mhm.
everybody I interact with in my LA is like a lot different than those types of people. But I do work in Venice, and so I see those kind of guys all the time. So
Yeah,
yeah, it's super funny. But
for
yeah,
sure.
that's a good
So
question, man.
for
We're
sure.
talking about I don't know how California came up at like the dinner table the other night, but we were talking about it, and somebody was saying like in order to leave California, like move out of state, you have to pay some, I don't know, like what is it, a couple thousand or something to leave. I
You
don't know if that's
Florida people just really love to make up rumors about California.
that would
Um,
be
No,
accurate.
I don't believe that's the case. Because I do know a lot of people that not a lot of people, but I do know like that people leave here for places like Texas or Arizona or whatever. What those states do that's interesting to me is like, for example, like I live in Inglewood. A lot of people are trying to buy up the property and make it gentrified and you know, up the value of everything, build apartments, blah blah blah, take out long-term residents. Places like Arizona will be like approach these people and be like, we'll pay you X amount of money and we'll make sure you have the same mortgage rate if you move to Arizona, but we're going to want to buy your house. And so people like will offer to give them money to move, but you wouldn't pay to move. Like people would offer you money to leave the house here because like
Yeah,
you'd
like,
have a great mortgage rate that you've had, you know, you paid $100,000 for your house in 1980 and you're paying less than $1,000 in mortgage, and then you have a house down the street that's worth like $2 million, and you're like, well, we can make so much money if we just get these people out. And
mm,
that, so I think like that's the closest thing I can think of, unless you're completely right and I'm just oblivious to this, but like I'm just gonna blame it on Florida.
never know.
Bring it. Bring it to Florida.
God damn Florida. But yeah, that's funny. I hadn't heard that one before. But
Yeah, that's new.
there are like a lot of weird things with um you know, wanting to get people out so that they can build up. I think that's like a really big thing, especially in neighborhoods like this.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's really weird.
California, man, it's a different world.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, I
Maybe
love
we
it
should
though,
maybe we
man.
should do the alumni reunion back out in Venice again. Seemed like
Yeah,
we had a blast out there. Muscle
that was
Beach.
fun. It was
Yeah.
fun. And hopefully it'll be less humid in Florida when you're there because Jules, you weren't there, but like the weather when we did our reunion was basically like we were in Florida. It was pretty weird. I think it was because Brooks was there. He just came, it
Yeah.
was like big
Oh,
gravity. He
that's what
pulled
happened.
the he pulled all the humidity and clouds and rain
Brought
and
all the moisture.
yeah, exactly. It all stuck to him, and as soon as he got off the plane, the wind blew it off into the air.
Or it's
Super.
because your house doesn't have AC and we were dying in your house.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah. No, my house has AC. What?
Well, it wasn't on when we were there.
Okay, yeah, yeah. Yeah, my house was pretty disgusting, and I think that might have also been because Brooks was sleeping there too.
I mean,
Grizzly dude. So, well, no,
But yeah, man.
if people aren't friends with you on Instagram or social media, where can they find you at?
I'm only gonna accept your follow request if we've spoken before, but at mjustin916 on Instagram. I have a lot of holding bay of follow requests until I remember who they are because I feel like a lot of people from WSF follow me, and then I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot. Like, you know, I met this dude. Sorry if I don't accept you right away. I'm just like trying to.
Noah's got to investigate you first.
I know.
I
I just, you know,
agree.
I don't know if people will start judging my personal life or whatever.
Yeah, I get you.
Not that I'm so controversial. I mean, I think I'm pretty normal on Instagram. I don't do anything
Yeah.
great. So
All right, Noah. Thanks, man. We appreciate you. Thank you
yeah,
for
man.
everything you've done, man. You've done an amazing job with this. Like you said, it's grown from 6 athletes 5 years ago to over 150. I mean, that's on you. I mean, you're the one pushing it. You're the one doing everything to help get this thing going. And man, it would not be anywhere cool if it wasn't you doing it. So,
Nah.
Oh, we didn't ask him what he thinks of firefighters now, Noah.
Oh, yeah.
what do you think of us now? A bunch of degenerates.
I mean, like, you know, first responders, when you don't know them, are just sort of like an enigmatic, like, you know, heroes of the community. I know cops have a little bit different kind of way people view them, but
Yeah,
for
we're not
me, yeah,
No.
well, this is separate. But I think, you know, I've always had respect for fire. I mean, there's nothing wrong with firefighters. Like, there's no controversy. It's like you're helping people. You help our community, like, even when it's just an old person that fell. You know, like, and I'm sure that annoys you to have to go out to those kind of calls. But
Email
I
lifts.
yeah, exactly. It's like, hey, those are ways to learn your lifts, I guess. Sandbag to shoulder.
That's what people keep saying next year is that all of our events need to be named like Meemaw lift, which is just a sandbag to shoulder, or pull an LDH, which is arm over arm, just something all firefighter related stuff.
No, it would be hilarious, but I don't feel like that's changed much. I still view you guys as obviously an important part of our community. I just think that it's it reminds me so much of college rugby. Just the way people talk and like the stories that people say, and like, you know, not that anyone saying anything bad. I just mean like it's very loose, and like I love that, and like you guys don't take yourselves too seriously. Which in a job that is extremely serious, like I feel like that's a good thing for your mental to be not taking yourself so seriously, because you do have to switch off and you do have to like live a normal life too. Me and my girlfriend were just talking about this earlier. We were having lunch outside of a firehouse, and we just saw them leaving, and we just talking about EMS, and like how I would be a firefighter tomorrow if I didn't have to deal with EMS calls and things like that. And they would just like, I can't handle blood. I can't, you know, it's just like
That's like 85% of the fire service is medical.
yeah, exactly. So that's what I was saying to her, is that like the mental strain that you have to go through dealing with all the medical calls, or the ODs, or you know, showing up to car crashes, just things like that can really mess up your mental. I think it's admirable that you guys are able to put on a positive face, at least. Maybe you have things that you deal with, but I think like the way that you deal with it together in the community and the jokes that people make, like it's very much like similar to communities I've been a part of before. We just didn't have to do crazy shit like the EMS call. So I'm just saying, like, I love that you guys don't take yourself too seriously, because I feel like it probably really helps just with dealing with everything.
For sure. But don't get it twisted. It is very much like college. It's like living in a dorm.
Yeah.
What-
Basically,
Yeah.
I think Marcus said this. He was like, it's basically just having like a sleepover with your best friends, like a couple weeks.
It is
like
exactly it.
And it's just funny coming from Marcus. Everything's funnier coming from him, because he just looks like a giant gorilla balloon. But like, with all due respect, Marcus, you're my favorite. But you know, it's just fun.
It's good. It's good.
Yeah, I mean,
Well, in a China.
I'm sure you guys talk to Marcus next, and he was a part of the 2022 group, and his story is so inspirational. And you know, the fact that he had just had his son, and his wife competed too, like it's just, you know, the stories are endless that we can tell on this podcast. So I just can't wait to see how you guys continue to do this. So thanks for having me on too. You know, I'm glad I could be of assistance, and I love talking about this. So I had fun. So I appreciate you guys hopping on with me. That was a good time.
Cool, man. Well, we appreciate it. We'll talk to you soon.
All right.
Thanks, brother.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.